We are back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us. We're on the Plus, obviously, here with the News Channel 5 network. Also streaming live on Facebook. A lot of folks following us right now at News Channel 5 on Facebook. And with us this morning is Beth Brown. She's the president of the Tennessee Education Association. Appreciate her coming on. And we can take some comments and questions from you folks as well, either by phone or on Facebook. Let me ask you this, Beth. Your thoughts from the teacher's perspective on, the governor's transparency or lack of it when it comes to revealing the details of cases cropping up in schools. They talk about concerns about HIPAA violations, but, whether or not they are going to, be forthcoming for parents and others with regard to schools that may have outbreaks and how specific they can get. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's in the best interest of students, educators, and families that reopening plans and decisions around how to provide instruction during this school year be grounded in local data. That includes robust testing, isolation, and tracing protocols. And the apparent disregard for providing data for parents and districts about what kind of outbreaks may be happening in schools or communities is counterintuitive when you think about wanting parents to have the most information available so that they can make the best decisions for their students. TA is quite concerned about that. We, in fact, after the governor initially announced that he was not going to provide that data, we added something to our website, teateachers.org. Under our COVID-19 resources, we actually have a button where people can go in and report not who has been diagnosed, but whether an educator or a student in a district has been diagnosed and what the response was, whether it was, the student was quarantined, a classroom was quarantined, the whole school building had to be closed down for a period of time. But we have started tracking that data because we believe that it's important for us to be able to have it to advocate not only at the local level, but also at the state level. So we are attempting to track some data because it is not forthcoming from the state.
Yeah, I know that critics have said it's absurd to say, well, we can't release it because of HIPAA. And HIPAA, for those of you who don't know, is medical privacy laws, which I understand and support entirely. But, saying that a school has cases is not the same thing as saying the name of the individual who has the case. And if I'm a parent, I sure as heck want to know if my school has cases of COVID-19. And to not reveal that is nonsensical. Period. End of story. It makes no sense to me. As long as you're protecting the identities of those who may have it, to reveal that, okay, this district has cases, I simply don't understand why something like that would not be made public and be transparent the way we do right now with nursing homes.
Absolutely. And again, that's why we have started tracking that data and given the public an opportunity to provide that data. Educators can report, students can report, parents can report. It's a public site on our website. And so if you are seeing cases pop up in your school, in your district, feel free to go again to our website, teateachers.org. Under our COVID-19 resources, you'll see a button where you can report COVID cases and how they're being handled at the local level. While you're there, you will also see an opportunity to report unsafe learning and working conditions. We know that the state has promised safety kits to all educators. We have heard many reports from across the state that educators have not yet received those kits that include cleaning supplies and gloves and that sort of thing. And so we have also created a place where educators, students, parents can report unsafe learning and working conditions.
Gotcha. All right, let's take a phone call from Joe. Joe, good morning. Joe, go ahead. What's your question?
Nick, we got all these folks, and I'm not picking on any particular one, but you got educators, you got politicians, you got doctors, you got so-called experts, all pulling business owners, all pulling in a different direction on this COVID. And I just wonder, is it more important to get a for children to go to school and take a chance on getting this, or is it more important just to not go to school and stay at home till we can get this thing under control? If not, it's going to be, I don't know when ever, that we're going to get this thing handled. And, you know, we got a president that come out with some off-the-wall stuff yesterday about taking blood from somebody that had it in the past and giving it to people to keep them from getting it. I mean, you got all kinds of crazy stuff coming around. But we don't get this in hand, it's going to be sometime next year, maybe the year after.
Yeah, what you worry about is that, you know, the key is maybe coming up not only with a treatment, which we're really going to talk about some of that later with our next guest, Joe, but a vaccine coming along. I guess it really is, Beth, a difficult thing for a lot of parents to make this call on a lot of fronts. They want their children to become educated, the best way to do about doing it. Some of these parents, you know, don't have the daycare to stay home, and they're having to juggle this. You understand the pressures on parents and the decision making that goes into that for them as well, right?
Absolutely, and I will tell you that two of my closest friends have fourth graders in public schools in Tennessee. So I completely understand the situation that parents find themselves in and the difficult decisions. You know, I think whatever your decision is, it's a good decision for you because you've had to consider all of the factors that will impact your family. I appreciate Joe's thoughtful recognition of the quandary, you know, balancing the need for education versus the need for health and safety. And I have to say TEA's number one priority during the coronavirus epidemic is the health, safety, and well-being of our students. Nobody wants to be back for in-person instruction more than educators in the state of Tennessee, but our priority has to be the health, safety, and well-being. And so until we can guarantee that, we have to look at the safest way to provide education. I also want to emphasize the fact that educators in Tennessee have never said we don't want to be working, we don't want to be educating, we just want to be able to do our jobs in the safest way possible. And in some parts of the state right now, that needs to be virtual teaching and learning because that's what's safest for Tennessee students and Tennessee's educators.
Right, and that's the way they're going right now. Is it your belief, though, that some of these schools which have come back and are trying to do it as safely as possible in classrooms, that can be done safely? Or is it in your mind it just all should, right now at least for the moment, remain virtual?
TEA uses active and new case rate data to kind of guide our advocacy at the local level because we know that these decisions are local decisions. And so if the data shows that it is safe to be back for in-person instruction, TEA wholeheartedly supports that. If the data does not show that it is safe, then we strongly advocate for virtual teaching and learning.
What do you anticipate happening in the next few weeks? Is this where we'll get a better handle on whether or not some of these in-classroom sessions are working or not? And is it your thinking that, you know, more classes may come into in-class, or do you think we'll be shifting more toward virtual? What's the trend you see at this early stage?
Well, it will be interesting to see what happens. We know that Shelby County schools, I think educators are starting back this week, and in a few days, students will be starting remotely. You know, of course, we know that Metro Nashville is working remotely and teaching remotely right now. In other districts, we see districts starting up for in-person and then having to kind of back off and move to some sort of hybrid or remote plan. I think what's important is that we monitor what's happening, and you know, if it looks like we're starting to see cases pop up in multiple buildings in a district, let's shift to remote learning. Let's get the community spread under control so that we can resume in-person instruction safely. That's what's critical, is making sure that the spread of the virus is under control so that we can have in-person instruction. And so if a district needs to move to remote teaching and learning for a time to get the coronavirus under control in that area, then that's what TA calls on them to do.
Gotcha. And that's what we all hope. Everyone can get back safely at some point. Gosh, I just can't wait. And I know everyone, students, teachers, parents, want to be back in the classroom. That's where the best learning happens. We just need to make sure to do it as safely as possible. And we'll be watching and seeing how all these different approaches work. Beth, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. And we'll talk again in the not too distant future to see where things are going. All right?
All right. Thank you, Nick. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. All right. That's Beth Brown, president of the Tennessee Education Association. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we hope to be joined by Dr. William Schaffner, a world-renowned expert on infectious diseases over at Vanderbilt. We've heard from a lot of the experts. He's one of the preeminent ones, and we'll talk to him about the very latest, including, it's already been broached this morning, what the president talked about yesterday, what potential there may be in this convalescent plasma treatment, and more, and your chance to ask him some questions right after this. Stay with us.